know the vibes out on this side.
Today, Alfredo serves as the chairman of the board of what is now the largest local realtor association in the world, representing 93,000 members across South Florida. And its members drove over $70 billion in real estate volume. And I got the chairman of the board, the man behind the magic right here. Tell me about the merger, what just happened, and what does it mean for agents? From this merger, who wins and who loses? What is the most misunderstood truth about the Miami market that you're seeing right now?
We went over there, felt like a mafia movie in the back. I'm like, am I right here? So I didn't order the steak right away, but I was like, if I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna order my steak nicely. I think that locals don't realize we're in the beginning of a New York City in the 70s. Do things belly to belly. Those relationships matter.
That's it, right? You're big on relationships. And today on True Talks, we're bringing you a real industry operator. Our guest is Alfredo Pujol, a South Florida real estate leader who has seen this business from the ground floor to the boardroom. He started in 2007, building his career the hard way: cold calls, door knocking, empty open houses, and the unglamorous work people never see. That foundation eventually led him into one of the most influential leadership roles in the industry. Today, Alfredo serves as the chairman of the board of what is now the largest local realtor association in the world, representing 93,000 members across South Florida. This association is larger than 47 state realtor associations combined, and its members drove over $70 billion in real estate volume in 2025. So this is not just a conversation about the market. It's a conversation about the bigger picture: policy, condos, financing, advocacy, and where South Florida real estate is going next. Alfredo Pujol, welcome to True Talks.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you for having me here. I feel after that intro, I don't know what else to say.
You deserve that intro.
Thank you.
And for me, I before I even get started with anything, I want to say thank you. I know that when we first joined the association, you were one of the biggest advocates for TruView and for my company, opening up doors inside the association, connecting us with the right people, letting us into the offices that you were managing, all the things that you did. And as I've seen you throughout the years and seen you grow into now being the chairman of the board, congratulations, Mr. Chairman. You've accomplished something great and you should be very proud of yourself. And I'm very proud of you. And I'm grateful that you're here today, still at that position where you're at. You still made the time to come here and be here on this podcast. And people like you are the type of guests that belong here on this podcast, because you're going to bring a different insight of the industry and where we're going. And you're someone that I've seen come from the bottom, rise all the way to the top. So, with all of that being said, why don't you tell us your story so everyone could get to know you from when you started in 2007, which is, when I heard that, I was like, by far the craziest, worst time to ever start in real estate here in South Florida, right? To no one showing up at your open houses, to now sitting on the board of the largest realtor association in the entire world.
So how'd I get here? So wild time. So I get a college degree and I think, okay, what do I do? I thought about
most
going to law
people
school.
say that, right?
Yeah, I thought about going to law school. I was like, I didn't want to read. So I read more contracts now than I ever thought I would. My dad's a doctor, retired doctor. So I was like, okay, let me go to medical. Nope, real estate was it. So 2007, at 23, I decided I wanted to get into real estate. I thought it was like the TV shows. You get in there, you sell these houses, you're on boats, you do stuff. Lesson learned. It was 2007, crash in the market. So a 23-year-old at my mom's house trying to figure out what to do. And what I quickly learned in that time was that you really have to learn the business. I would set up appointments, I would do calls, but I didn't have anybody to teach me or follow me. And the company I was with had a lot of training. I kept taking the training, I kept doing the things. And over the years, I started learning by accident. One of these relationships, I was asked to be on a team. I almost left the business in 2008.
Wow.
Because I only done some rentals. And then I asked to be on Natasha Tello's team.
Okay.
And so one of the top brokers. And I worked as a buyer's agent. So my friends during that time were at Best Buy or getting odd jobs. I was selling houses. And I was like, this is not too bad. I sell a house. And so from there, I started working with institutional buyers. I did institutional sellers. I worked with foreclosures. And I've done pretty much everything in the industry. So when you gave that intro, which I don't know what else to say from there, but what I tell people is I come from the person who literally was cleaning the office, doing whatever a top producer would tell me, to now I'm lucky enough, thanks to relationships like with you and other realtors, to be the chairman for the largest association. I like to say the planet. I took that. Someone said that the other day, and I say the largest in the planet. So so that's us.
Yeah. When you're saying that, it makes me think. It's like people want to come into this industry and they want to start at the top, but you started from the bottom. You said you were cleaning, you became an assistant, you did rentals, you did everything. You started from the bottom, you make your way to the top. You don't just walk in and start at the top. You always got to work your way up. But throughout that journey, you were doing deals, you were selling real estate, and now you ended up in a position where you're the chairman of the board. What led you to do that, and what problem were you trying to fix that led you to be where you're at today?
So one of the things that I always learned is you when you're lucky enough to be able to have the opportunities that I've had. So through real estate, I've been able to see the world. So when you have those opportunities, you want to give it back. So lucky enough, I was able to be on the board. And I started on the Broward Miami Association board. And I was just a governor.
Yeah, that's when I met you.
Yeah, so governors watching this, I was managing an office, and I was just trying to give back to the community. I wanted to be at the table. And one of the things is when policies or different things are happening is everyone says, oh, I want to do something. I'm like, but nobody actually ever does anything. So I wanted to see what it was like. And I wanted to make sure, okay, if I'm going to give back to an industry that's giving me all these opportunities, I want to see what's there or what I can do to give back. And that's how it started. And just by accident, I just kept going, doing my part. And here we are. So it's about 8-9 years that I've been in a leadership role through different organizations. I was part of NAREP on there. So about 10 years in total, 10, 12 years in leadership in some type of board level. And now lucky enough to be a part of this coolest thing that I think the industry likes it. So we're doing something that people were asking for.
Yeah, you mentioned NAREP. I was the president of the South Florida chapter in 2023. Yeah. And you have to volunteer your time and you have to run that whole organization. It was a lot of work for me. And the reason why I did it is like the problem I was trying to fix was the label that inspectors had. Everyone looked at the inspector as a small peasant in the transaction. And you never saw a president for NAREP being a home inspector, or you never saw him let alone on the board. And I was actually the first inspection company owner to ever be president of NAREP chapter and the first one to ever be on the board. And that was a problem that I was trying to fix. I was trying to elevate my industry. And you being on the board and now being the chairman of the board and going down that route, was there like a particular problem that you're like, man, I'm going to join this. I'm going to do this because I want to fix this problem?
So I wish there was. We talked about licensing, making the licensing standards stronger, things like that. But the problem was more, it wasn't a problem. It's how do you help our agents, or how do you help the homeowner understand the value in the real estate professional? Mm-hmm. And that was one thing. People looked at it as, like you mentioned the inspection company, like nobody looked at that side. And it's how do you elevate your profession? And one of the things was if you're not there in those rooms, you can't do that change. And for a lot of those rooms, it's a lot of the older guard. So now you're seeing a lot of younger people come into leadership. But leadership is someone tells you, hey, you might be good at this. It's usually not the other way around that you go and pick it. It kind of finds you, as people say. So one of the things I saw was all these people that have been in the business for years, they were making the rules. And I'm like, I don't want to make the rules, but I want to be able to help. And as a young professional, I want to do that. And that's what kind of sparked it is, okay, how do I help our professionals or that side grow? And it's come to this. So this is where we're at today.
Yeah, that's great. You have a passion to help elevate the agents in your industry, and I've seen it, and that's why you've always been in that position of leadership. Yeah. So look, I'm a big sports guy. Okay. So I love watching sports, and I watch ESPN. And there's times during the year, like during basketball trade season, during the trading period, you hear on your phone, and it's a trade notification. So we're gonna break it here on the TruTalk Podcast. Breaking news. There's been a big merger, and I got the chairman of the board, the man behind the magic right here. Tell me about the merger. What just happened, and what does it mean for agents?
So do I turn and look this way?
You can do whatever you want, man.
What does it mean for the agents? So people have been talking about this merger. It's like one of those trades. So if you want to, people have been talking about this for years. They've been talking about bringing the associations together. The Palm Beaches Our World Association has over 40,000 members. Miami has over 60,000.
Wow.
So it was like for years, there's all this data. You couldn't combine the data. You couldn't combine the information. Advocacy was a little bit of an issue. And we work well together. We all work in the industry together. But the challenge that we were having was, how do we bring the groups to that side? And this year there was two ESPN breaking news. One was our CEO was retiring. So Teresa Kinkini was retiring this year. So I knew about that for 2 years. So now I can say it freely here. I knew about that for 2 years when I was chairman-elect. I knew that she was planning on possibly retiring. So this merger had nothing to do with that. That's what people think. The merger was agents and the brokers for years having challenges with trying to get some data and trying to do more in advocacy. And we sat down, and this was a conversation over a pizza, me and the other president. And I said,
pizza.
Yeah. So yeah, that's literally what the conversation was. And it was, what can we do for the members? And that's why we decided, okay, this is a time to merge the associations into the largest one in the world, because it's going to give members more tools. It's going to give more opportunities for people like yourself, for us to collaborate, do more things. So that's really why it came down to. But for years, people have been trying to do it. And I think the key was, and I'll give him a lot of credit, Jonathan Dolphus, the president for the Our World Association, we took ego out of it. When we sat down over that pizza, we sat over that lunch, I told him one thing. I said, if we're going to do something like this, I don't need headaches. I got a lot of stuff on my plate. So if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. And we're going to do it with the right people. And here we are. So here we are.
That's crazy. And especially over a pizza and not a steak, right?
It's a true story. The steak was all paperwork side, but the pizza was the original.
Okay.
There was a steak. There's always a steak. Yep.
Well, how did it go? Because, we sit down. It was two presidents sat down and threw this idea back and forth at each other.
Yep.
But the pizza conversation elevated to the steak.
Bingo.
How does it go from there to there? How does it go from just an idea, hey, let's do this, to now executing and making it happen?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So this is actually the first time that people are going to hear it on a public level of that side. So the conversation was, let's have lunch. Let's talk about how do we help our members? How do we help with advocacy? How do we continue to grow our industry and not just be two separate associations? So the conversation was really about technology, about tools, with everything going on in the industry, and the industry kind of defragmenting. We're like, how do we come together? Because we all work together in the same industry.
Yeah, and you overlap.
Correct. We all know each other. We're the only ones that all know each other. So we looked at how do we combine forces and help that side. And from that, we never planned the merger. The pizza conversation was literally, if a merger opportunity comes up, we'll bring it up, but it's not going to do that. So 2 weeks passed. Some things happened in between. We were searching for a new CEO.
Wow.
So we were in the middle of searching.
So no one ever floated this idea?
No. It was like one of those lunches, like,
wow,
if it's ever going to come up, I'll call you. But if not, I'll we're going to keep our friendship. I'm going to keep growing and building this side. So then a few weeks passed, some things changed. And then I made the call and I said, we're going to have a lunch. And then came the famous steak lunch, which felt like a Mafia movie. It was a backroom lunch.
Where was it at? What steakhouse?
So it was at in Fort Lauderdale. It was in Fort Lauderdale. I forgot the steak place. I think it was Fleming's or one of those. It was in Fort Lauderdale. They have a back room. So it was me, CEO, Teresa, Jonathan Dolphus, their president, and the CEO. Nobody knew it was happening. So I actually had to cancel a bunch of meetings that day. So we went over there, felt like a Mafia movie in the back. I'm like, am I right here? So I didn't order the steak right away, but I was like, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to order my steak nicely. Yeah. So we sat down, we had a conversation of what works, what doesn't work, what's good for our members, what's not good for our members. How do we bring this to our boards for approval? Because we have to go through our boards for approval. It can't just be like we're signing off on something. Like with sports, it's, the GMs get together and the owner. And so that's what we did. And it was a 4.5 hour lunch.
Wow.
And after that lunch, we went to our boards and we presented it. And that happened in a week and a half. So pizza, 2 weeks passed. Then in 1 week, we had everything done. We had the meeting set up with the boards. And this merger is going to be done, I think, in 4.5 weeks. It'll be the fastest merger that they've ever had. So, so it'll be done in about 4.5 weeks. It's done.
Wow, Fredo. Wow. Isn't that's like,
wild. Yep.
It is amazing to hear that you were the guy, the quarterback that kind of orchestrated that entire transaction when you step in. So your seat on being the chairman of the board is going to be possibly the greatest in the history of that association. So congratulations to you.
I appreciate that. I think we couldn't be here without the people that came before. Right place, right time. I think it was that. But one of the things is everybody took the egos out of the way and it's like, okay, how do we make this better? Like the same thing with working with you. How do we bring the agents? How do we bring people out there? I think it's key. You said something earlier. It's how do we let the public know? Because I think one of the things is the public might see an inspector, might see a realtor. Is like, no, we're the ones that put you in the homes. We're the ones that make sure your home is right. We're the ones that do that. And I think it's how do you elevate that? So hopefully this is the first step in continuing elevating that side.
Yeah, it's pretty good that these associations put their egos to the side and manage for the better of the agent, for the better of the industry. And I think that was a cool, powerful move. What's the first change that you think that agents are going to feel?
First change?
Literally like next week.
Next week, the first thing is the technology. Within the next 60, 90 days, really, by the time, this goes out, people should be seeing the technology. So for a lot of years, the technology or the MLS side, if you were in the Fort Lauderdale or the Palm Beaches board, you wouldn't get it immediately from Miami and vice versa. There was like a data miss in there. Now there's going to be, integrated. So it's going to be a lot faster. So for a realtor, it's going to help them out right there, right out of the gate, just on the data side. The second way is going to be definitely advocacy. But the first one for sure is the data and the tools that they're going to get. They're going to get more stuff, better tools, because now we won't have separate things. We'll have things combined and we'll have partnerships. So it'll be a lot better opportunities for all the realtors, not just one board.
Yeah, like when you say that, when you talk about the data, for instance, like when we would check agent production to see who we target, who we market, who we go after, I would have to go in there and check Miami MLS. Then you had Beaches MLS. And then I had to see that. Then I see that a lot of brokerages have to have a Miami MLS, a Beaches MLS, and it's in the same area.
Yep.
So how does that benefit the agent when you're not having to switch back and forth?
It's faster. One of the things that I always tell agents, it's not when they join. So I've hired, to give you some context, and maybe this will help too, is in my 7 years as a team leader, I would do over 40 appointments a month. And so I've hired 10 a month. So in those times, I maybe hired 500 agents, newly licensed. Like I'm excited to experienced agents. So I've done over 2,000 interviews like this on the agent side. So how that helps is it's the speed. One of the things I always teach agents is it's not that I'm better at real estate. It's not that I'm better. It's I can do it faster.
Oh yeah.
By the time you're trying to figure out how to do a piece of paperwork, I've already called. I already did the listing. I already have it sent out. I already called someone. If you need a referral, I already called the commercial guy. I already called the residential guy that works the specific market. I already have the inspector sitting there. I already have TruView. I have everything done, ready to go. So it's speed. So I think this is going to help a lot of the realtors that have been for years having to do those 3 steps. It's one step.
Yep. And it's a market of speed. Yeah. I agree with you because, and you notice, especially here in South Florida, we had Joanna Jimenez, one of your colleagues here on episode 3, and we called her the queen of speed. She works on speed. And you don't want to know what's interesting? We're also in the Orlando market. And over there, it's the contrary. Everyone moves like a turtle. Everyone moves really slow. And in South Florida, you got to be fast. That's why when we came into the industry, we came out with the immediate report delivery because like the market needed to move fast. Yeah. So, and from this merger, Alfredo, who wins and who loses?
I don't think anybody loses. If someone loses, so the winners for sure are the realtors, South Florida realtors. This is a bigger thing than just a local level. The fact that you can go all the way from the beginning of Key West, right? So we're all the way Florida City, all the way up to right before Orlando. The fact that you have all that information, you can do that, the realtors win. Who might lose in this is all these tech companies, a little bit. Because for the first time ever, realtors are going to have the opportunity to have and control their data. And it's not going to be to separate companies, not going to be separate things. They're going to have that side.
That's true.
And part of that, and part of this, and I'll breaking news there because I could say it, part of it is the realtors in this deal are going to have an opportunity in the future to buy into or have the opportunity to buy into their technology and tools. Wow. So part of that was one of the things that I asked for. So only thing I asked for when the home, I didn't really ask for much. All I asked for was I want our realtors to have a chance to be able in the future, if something happened, to be able to buy into or be a part of whatever gets built on an MLS level or technology level. So that's one of the things that that will hopefully in the future one day be one of those pieces.
Give me an example of that.
So let's just say you and I go into a partnership with the association, and in the future something comes out of that. Well, our realtors would have a chance to be part of that partnership.
To buy into it.
To buy part of that partnership, part of that technology, part of that tool or something on there. So you never know what the future will bring. But at least it's a first time. So this is real breaking news on the site. This is something where will something come from it? Will something come from it? I don't know. I can only hope so. But it was worth the shot. So if you're a realtor watching this, hopefully one day you remember that was the small group that tried to do that to make sure that our industry could keep on for many years. Give me the 18 years doing this. And I hope, one day it's a little legacy piece. I'm hoping my son will be like, hey, dad did this. So it'll be kind of cool to see that. Yeah.
So listen, everybody, this is the man that quarterbacked the merger. And if you ever get to buy into one of these data companies, you could thank him down the road, okay? And take him to a steak dinner.
That's a fair, yeah.
So you mentioned that on our call, you had mentioned that this gives us real power in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
What does that power look like? And what do you think could pass now that couldn't pass before because of this merger?
So I love that question. And one of the things that I want people to understand is, because this is your podcast, these videos go out to not just realtors. They're going out to everybody out there. So the real estate associations have something called the PAC. So political advocacy.
Yes.
And that is where we go to Tallahassee and we advocate for homeowners. So a few things that people don't know, and this is one of the things that I want to make sure everybody knows, is that PAC in Tallahassee, we were deemed essential. So a realtor, if you were able to work after the pandemic, it was because we sent a letter to Tallahassee to make sure they're able to work. So that was one. Condo reform, business rent tax. For a lot of business owners, we just got business rent tax taken off. That was years of going to Tallahassee and doing that. So what it means now is we used to show up to Tallahassee as two separate boards or multiple boards. Now we are going to fill up a room of one of the governors, one of the governor, the senator, one of the council people. We're going to fill up the room now of them with one association. So for a homeowner, if you're having an issue with something and there's something that we can advocate for, this is now the opportunity. So we have a lot more lobbying and strength up there, which will help, hopefully work on these deals, these policies that are going to help homeowners buy a home.
Yeah, it's like a strength in numbers and a united front.
Correct.
When you show up there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's huge. I think that there's a lot of things that need to change to help this market. And I hope that we're able to accomplish it now for the entire industry.
Yeah.
And especially from you, because you aren't in the industry on the micro level, boots and grounds selling real estate. You're looking at this from the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So what policy issues do you think will affect the market in the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, I think the hot topic right now is taxes. You sit on there what's going to happen with taxes, what all the back and forth on how the taxes go, what gets taxed, what doesn't get taxed. I think that's super important, especially if you're looking at all these states that are high tax rate states. So like the policies, we want to keep the taxes down. We want to make it affordable, but we also understand that there's things that need to happen for our state to function, right? But that's one of them, the taxes. The other one is condo reform. We're big on the condo reform. So one of the things that people don't know is Florida is one of the few states where it's pretty much you can't get a condo without at least 20% financing.
Yeah, which is crazy. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And so on top of that, you have assessments, you have different things. So one of the goals for us is really how do you lower that cost? Because the condo market, if you look at any stats, the condo market is still the area where you can buy a property under $1 million. You can buy $500,000. There's condos, but there's things that they have to be done on a level. And that's a first-time buyer. That's a newlywed couple. That's a retiree. That's someone that's retiring that's like, you know what? I don't want to have the house anymore. I want to buy a condo, but they want to know their fees are the same.
Yeah.
So one of the big ones that I think is gonna come up is gonna be condo reform, and a lot of that lobbying side and a lot of that push is gonna be to make sure that those people can buy, and the sellers can sell. So I think that's one of the big ones that we're gonna see coming on the advocacy side.
And going back to the taxes, everyone talks about this whole eliminating taxes or lowering the taxes. Alfredo, is that really gonna happen, or is that just like political blah blah blah?
No, they're. I mean, we're the lowest tax. I mean, I did numbers for an interview once, and if you're in New York, I think the tax rate essentially comes out to 40%. So if you made $1 million, you're getting taxed $400,000. In Florida, you're getting taxed 30. So you make already 100,000. So that's why you see all these people coming down here. That's why, same thing with California. That's why they're all moving down here. So do I think it's a lot of blah, blah, blah talk on the taxes? No. I think that DeSantis, I think that a lot of the politicians try to figure out ways to lower the property taxes. Where the other money comes from, I'm not in that side yet to do it. But one of the things is, there's certain reforms that have to be done. And I think that the right people are looking at it. And we're lucky enough that we actually, even on the association side, we have a senator. Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez serves. So we're lucky enough that we have people in there that are advocating for the homeowner. Because I want people to watch this, not just about real estate. It's about we're advocating as realtors for you, the homeowner, to
Yeah,
make sure
very
that you
important.
have all the tools. So you're not just getting the insurance is going up. So you're not having to do those things. So you're able to remain in your home and you're able to enjoy the lifestyle that Florida and Miami provides.
Yeah, my dad all the time tells me, oye, van a quitar los taxes. Mira, van a quitar los taxes.
My mom,
Because
too.
you think about it, my parents are retired.
Yep.
Yeah, his house is paid off. He doesn't even pay for homeowners insurance. He just has hazard insurance.
Apparently it's a Hispanic dad.
Yeah,
His mine does the
Hispanic
same
dad.
thing. I'm like, Papa, get the insurance. And he doesn't want to get it.
I could
Sorry.
break down some numbers when it comes to that windstorm coverage. That is.
I
like,
agree.
yeah.
I can't disagree with him. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah. So, and I look at and I understand them. Wow, they've been living in that house since 1997. We're going now on 30 years of living on the same home. Their house is paid for. They still have to pay taxes year over year. And my dad's retired, so every year he gathers his money and then he goes and he pays his taxes and he receives Social Security benefits. So, is it realistic that taxes are going to get eliminated for property houses, in your opinion?
I do think they're working on it. I really do. Like, this is my opinion, right? So I don't want to. I do think they're going to eliminate a large portion, or they're going to reduce it significantly for homeowners like that. And I think it's also going to stimulate some of the other people, right, to come in. So I think they're trying to figure out the flow of it. And I think there's not one size fits all. You know, the thing that I've always learned is this: once you take away something,
Yep, that's what I was going next with.
you cannot add it back. And I've learned that through leadership. I learned that through, if I tell someone that I'm going to sell your house at $1 million, and then I have to go back to them and tell them I'm going to sell it at $900,000, people don't hire me, or they never hired me. I always joke. They don't hire me for my smile or being fun. They hire me because I go to sell their home. Like, I don't get asked to work with top producers or do things for that, right? It's how do we help you? How do we do that side? Once you take something, you can't. So we're playing a we have to be very, very careful on that side. And part of that being together now as one association, as one large, we have power to go talk to the government and be like, hey, this is your homeowners, your constituents, your people that we sit with every day. That $60 billion is not just $1 million homes. It's the condo for $200,000 that an 80-year-old retiree is in, right? So that is where I think you have to be very careful. Once you take away taxes, I know it's a hot topic, but once you take it away, you can't go put it back and be like, well, we're going to raise it now.
Yeah,
So
you can't do that.
Yeah, so I think they'll probably do something little by little and see what works. But I think that's where the realtors and this merger and being the largest in the world helps, because we're gonna have a lot of smart people there. They're gonna be able to be like, hey, these are the people, your owners. This is what they're saying.
Yeah.
You know?
And when you said about taking away, I like a side note, I immediately thought about realtors dropping their commission to get a deal.
Yeah.
It's like the moment you drop your commission, that client, when they come back again and everybody else that comes through them is going to want the same thing. You're never going to be able to raise it again.
Yeah.
So never like devalue yourself.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What do you think it takes for this to really get passed?
For the taxes?
Lowering the taxes, eliminating the tax. What do you think it really takes for it to happen?
I mean, they're right there. They're on the cusp.
Really?
Of it.
We're there? We're
they're
what are we, on the 20-yard line, the 10-yard line, or on the 50?
They've had a few votes for it, and I think we're at the 50.
We're at the 50, okay.
But that is past my side.
Yeah.
I think that's past my side, but I'm not gonna say no to it. If they want to lower my taxes even more, I'll take it. And I think that's one of the things that keeps bringing people into Miami. That I think alone is what's bringing a lot of people into Florida.
Yeah. The right now, I know that condos are where deals die. Before going into this podcast, I looked back at our numbers because we have a very good pulse as what's happening in the industry because we strictly work with buyers. So I was looking at it back in 2022 and 2023, we were doing between 1,400 to 1,500 condos a year. We do about 6,000 buyer transactions a year. So the condos made up that amount. Over the last 3 years, we've been doing between 1,000 to 1,100 condos a year. You're talking about a 30% average drop in the amount of condos that we've done. So condos are right now where deals are going basically to die.
Yeah.
What's wrong with the condo industry that they're not moving? Can you break it down for us a little bit?
Yeah, I think there's two things to look at with condos. It's what segments. The high-end condos, the new development condos, like I'm gonna give you a couple examples, like the Four Seasons, the Mandarin, those new development ones sold out. They're getting the prices like this. Though where we're having the challenges, the ones that have all the assessments, all the ones that haven't been up to date on that side. That's where the deals are falling through on, where there'll be an assessment coming in. So part of that, the legislation, part of the things that we're doing is on the condo reform is to look at, okay, how do we make it where the condo can come up to date? So it's a functional working condo. And then we can get those buyers in. Financing is one of them, right? Financing is one of them because, like I said, for a lot of years, it's 20% on the condo side. So a lot of the deals in the condos, like you said, you're still doing 1,000. So I want people to kind of understand that context is you're still doing condo sales. So they're still happening. They're still happening, but a lot of them are cash.
That's exactly.
They're still cash. So a condo, what I tell everybody, when you're buying a condo, you have to know that you're paying the fee, you're paying for a lifestyle. Like, you know, I have family members that have condos on the water and they just got them at good prices. They've been dying to get a condo on the water, but they also understand with a good price, they're going to be paying their dues on that.
A high maintenance HOA fees.
Correct.
Yeah.
But Miami and Florida, if you look at other areas like New York, they're vertical. Chicago. So I think condos,
and we're turning into that too.
And I think condos are here to stay. So I think the biggest segment where if I'm a real estate agent or I'm someone that wants to be here, I think condos is the biggest area that can grow in the future. I think right now it's just trying to figure out how to get into the condo and how to make sure that the payments don't go up or they don't go up substantially because it's like deferred maintenance. So right now I think that's right now we're in the market of fixing these condos, getting them up to date, getting the assessments at a steady pace. Once that gets into check and you see a lot of people from Chicago, New York that are coming in and they're used to that vertical living, we're going to see that market is going to take off. But it's going to take a little bit of time. It's not going to be overnight. I mean, we have heavy inventory in there and it's going to take time. But one stat I'll share with this is pre-pandemic condo listings were just as high as now. And in a matter of like a year, they got absorbed.
Yes.
And where the people come from? They all came from New York or those areas. They're like, I'm stuck in my New York building. I can't get out. I'm going to come get some sunny weather. So I saw that get absorbed really quickly. You say, remember, you grew that side. So now you're on a 30% drop, but it's still, some pockets are still moving. So I think that could happen again, but it won't happen until we start doing some of this legislation and start bringing in some of these things to just get the properties in the condition to have the families, the newlyweds, the people get into those condos.
Yeah. And with that drop, I've also seen the growth of the housing market.
Yep.
And I remember during COVID, when people couldn't afford to buy a single family home, everyone was buying condos. The condo market during that time was going crazy. Mm-hmm. And so now we have these situations. So right now, if you could just give me one thing that would fix this condo market, you just have to, one thing that could happen to fix it, what would it be? I
think it's the financing. I think if we can continue to get the financing where the buildings are financeable and the rates drop, all day that's your first time buyer. Condos were always generally you buy your first place and then you move up.
Yes.
Right? You either leave it as a rental or you sell it and you take the equity you have in there and you move into a house. So one thing I think would be the financing. And that's what we got to work on. And it's just education. It's education to the industry. It's education. It's getting, the condos and all these up to par. But I think that financing will help.
What's the issue with the financing in the condo industry?
It's a lot of these buildings, you have to get them insurable. So
the buildings are not insurable.
So some are, but the ones that are sell. But at the end of the day, the buildings that are having the challenges with the assessments, that's where it's at.
Yeah, like my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're obviously the specialist in this industry. From the collapse of the Champagne Towers in Surfside, the county said, we need to inspect every building. They went into alert mode. All these recertifications got done, which we did many of them. Then, because of that, now these buildings have to fix all the deferred maintenance items that they had.
Yep.
As a result of that, they issued special assessments.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if I'm going to go buy a condo and I'm looking at this building and this building has a special assessment on the unit, then the bank won't want to finance me because it's like, hey, I'm going to lend you this money, but there's also this other debt from the special assessment. Yeah. Is that the way that it works? Is that what's going on? Or
that's so I think you said it perfectly, but I think that's what we're working towards, getting the condos to one, work on the assessments, bring them current, but also for the buyers to understand that the assessment's only going to be for a certain amount of time. It's not going to be an infinite assessment, right? So I think that's where the structural integrity reports and all those and the reports that are coming in now that came from that accident, that unfortunate accident, but that's where a lot of this is coming in. So I think it's just time. I think the condo market is going to be an amazing area. If I'm a realtor and I could find the niche in there, you have multiple sectors. You have buyers, sellers, and renters.
Yep.
So I think in the future that's going to be a segment in there, but we're not there yet. Until we get these little things fixed, and it's going to take time.
Yeah, and I see the opportunity. That's why the cash buyers, the opportunity is there because you're buying in cash. You don't need the financing, and then you're getting it at a good price. But if I was a realtor too, I would focus on condos that aren't due for recertifications, newer buildings.
Well, I want to stop you there because we found out a stat that we have, and it's on the Miami site, is because that was one thing that a lot of people bring up is we found out that the condos that were 1970, 1980 that were maintained, that were in good shape, those are selling faster.
No way.
Yeah. So those are selling, not only are they selling faster, we're selling more of them because the associations were taking care. So it's an education thing.
Of course.
So that's why. So like, even though the building might be newer, built in 2007 when I started during that peak of like, it doesn't mean that's necessarily better. So some of the older buildings, because of the way that they maintained it, they pass these reports very easily. So those buildings still sell quite a bit. And so that might be the 1,000 that the ones that you're getting are such.
Yeah, we're doing a lot.
But that's where you're seeing a lot of them is the ones that maintained it. Those sold in that quicker time, and they were selling, and they were still selling. They were selling some of them like 700 to 500,000, which is an entry level or like a nice price where someone can have a nice lifestyle.
Yeah. So you're sitting up there. It's going back to sports. Yeah. That's been the theme there.
I like it.
Going back to sports, you're like the GM right now. So you're sitting in the skybox and you're watching the game from the field, and you could see things that the coach can't see. That's why you see the offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, they're up there in the skyboxes. You're sitting up there from the skybox and you're looking at this market. What is the most misunderstood truth about the Miami market that you're seeing right now?
I think people keep saying, I keep hearing like the market's slowing down. And like the condos are still moving and houses are still moving. I think one of the things that, and people still say the prices are now getting to where it's unaffordable. You could still find a property in Miami at a good price. You could still find a property. If I'm living in any of these other states, California or New York, it is a deal here in Miami. And one of the things that I think people, I think a lot of the times you hear Miami's now unaffordable. Miami is
overpriced.
Is this. Miami compared price per square footage of what you get, even for an apartment, is twice what you get still in New York or California, one of those areas. Are we catching up in price? Yes. I'm not naive. We're catching up. But what you get compared to international side is you get more square footage for that. So that's why you see even homes selling for higher prices because you get more land here for a lower price than you do in California. And the tax savings. So just look at the billionaire bunker. Zuckerberg, Larry Page, all these guys buying here. I heard Elon is circling around Miami Beach looking for something. So that's been all the news. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. We'll find out soon, but they're all there. Bezos, right? So all these people are moving their money here. And what do they do when they bring their money here? They bring their businesses. So I think Miami, and I'm born and raised in the 305, so I got to throw that out every chance I get. I think that locals don't realize we're in the beginning of a New York City in the 70s. We're in the beginning of a California boom. And we haven't even realized it yet of the side. Even Miami has 4 million people compared to New York has 10 million. So I think people think it's over. Like people keep saying Miami's too much, this, that, the other. I think we're just in the beginning.
You're seeing it because, look, I was speaking to somebody that I know that's very, very wealthy. And he was telling me that first of all, the Miami luxury market is on fire.
Wow, it's like wild. One of our agents in the office just did the Starbucks, Howard Schultz.
Okay.
Just did that, like the market. Wild.
It's on fire.
Yeah.
We're doing more luxury properties than we have ever done before.
Yep.
Every day we're doing multi-million-dollar homes. And you know why, right? Like my friend told me, he's like, Louis, for the person who's going to buy the baddest house in California, they're spending 150 million, 200 million, 100 million. You come to Miami, you're buying the baddest house, 50, 60 million. Mm-hmm. This is a bargain.
All
and
day.
Then the taxes all day. And that's why we're seeing this boom in the luxury market. And when all these luxury properties are being sold, then you see how all the other markets are going to grow too. In my neighborhood, regular $1 million neighborhood, you see that the people who are buying now are people who are making big money in revenue. They're coming in, they're buying older homes, breaking them down to the ground and remodeling again because it's a bargain. And what we're seeing today here in this market.
Yeah, we have land. I mean, on land value alone, people are buying land value $1 million, $2 million just for land or a tear down, and they're building up on it. And you just said it. What you get here For $50 million, you pay $150 million over there. So when
It's a
people say we're
no-brainer.
overpriced, we're not overpriced. A local, yes, the locals, we are feeling it because we are not used to this level of jump. It's in a 5-year span. We've gone from our average price point was like 300 grand to now in some pockets is $700,000-$800,000 is the price point. Like I'll use the Grove where I work out of, but the Grove, if you go 5 years ago, I think it was like $800 to $1 million. Now it's like $2.5-3 million
Grove's
is
on
what you're
fire.
seeing on the price.
Yeah.
So and that for another area is they're bringing businesses, they're bringing people, so we're not stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, and the market's not slowing down. It's slowing down for the ones that haven't adjusted and the ones that haven't put in the work. But I could tell you, I don't have enough inspectors. I just had to hire 4 guys. I have them in training to meet the demand that we have right now.
I'm so glad you said that because people watching this, they keep saying that markets. So the market here, the underlying market is moving. It is moving, and if it's not moving, it's people watching and they're waiting. Like there's some sectors where the interest rates do matter, but the moment that the interest rates drops a certain amount, those buyers come out of the woodwork. So like what you're saying, you can't get enough people to go out there and do inspections. It's the same side. The underlying market and the business structures here are like, we're in good shape.
I got a good one for you though. Okay, so the market's not slowing down, and it hasn't slowed down. However, what's one thing that you believe could slow this market down?
I think you're seeing it now. I think you're seeing it now with what's happening overseas. I think you see it anytime something happens, the gas prices go up, things take a little bit of a pause. Business owners have to look at and reevaluate. So I think that those black swan events, those things that happen, that can always be a stop. But those are the best times to buy. Those are the best times to be in the market. And if you're a true real estate professional, now's the time that you come into the industry and you do stuff. Or if you're just lucky accident by me, you start in 07, right? You end up, no market can be worse than that
No
market.
market could
I used to sit in
destroy
open
you.
houses and one person would come in and nobody would come in. So when you've seen it all, this is like a nice market to be in. So one thing that slow down could be what's happening overseas, but this is the other thing that I tell everybody. What's happening overseas, and I'm gonna use the UAE and that side, right? It's unfortunate everything that's happening over there. But the moment that gets cleared up or that starts to get fixed, that money's gonna come to Miami.
Of course.
They were already coming here. So as a state, as a city, I think we're very, very positioned very well globally. That for a real estate professional, for someone that's buying, someone that's moving here, I think you're in good shape.
Yeah, and I know that with the association, you guys do a lot of stuff over there in Dubai.
Yep.
Every year you host these
Yeah, we had a
conferences.
plan we had to change. Yeah, we had one. Yeah.
The best realtor association in the world. And I agreed, and I've seen it. I've been able to grow my business through it and through the relationships I've built in it and the work that TK and everyone else has been put into the association. And so right now, I see that the market hasn't slowed down. It's still booming. We have all this opportunity, all this capital money that's come in here. But it's still 10% of the agents that are doing 90% of the business. And the realtors aren't taking advantage of these opportunities. So why is it that realtors aren't taking advantage of the opportunities that we have in this Miami market right now?
Why are they not taking it? That's a great question. The ones that are. I think it's the K-shaped economy. You just said the 20% is becoming now the 10%. So like before you might have 20% of the realtors that do the business. Now it's becoming 10%.
Yep.
So even though we have a ton of real estate professionals, right? The ones that are really doing this on a day-to-day basis are getting their unfair share. They're getting all that business because they understand when a loan or you get into a loan, they understand how to work it out. They have inspectors and companies like you, right? That they know, hey, how do we make this deal work? So I think right now you're going to continue to see that part where if you're a really good real estate professional and you're focused on your craft, you're not only going to do well, you're going to do better in this market than others. I think people that got into 2020 got their license and they're like, oh, this is easy to sell real estate. I think they're going to learn in this market, even though there's opportunities that they're going to have challenges. Right?
Yeah, and I think what I've seen, the ones that suffered the most has been the ones that are doing it part-time. Because this is an industry that if you want to be successful, you have to be in there and do it full-time.
Yeah.
What do you think is like a mistake that agents are making to stay average? And what I mean average is I'm talking the agent that does 1 to 4 transactions a year. What mistake do you think that they're making that keeps them average?
I think they think TikTok. I think we all think TikTok or dance videos are the yeah. I think everybody thinks that the dance videos are the way to go, and the old school things of a phone call, a relationship. Like I think that the retro, as I say, the retro stuff works. If it didn't work, you and I wouldn't be here. We ran into each other, over getting something to eat, right? Like it's the relationships, the old school way works. So I think for a realtor that's doing a couple of deals or someone out there that's looking to get in the industry, it's not just, yes, you need to have a social media presence. You need to have an amazing thing like what you're doing here where you're educating the public. You have to do those things because that's your calling card. That's people knowing what you do. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to work with you if I've never sat down with you. And I think we're relying a lot on AI to do the heavy lifting. We have to do the heavy lifting. AI is just getting your hand to raise. So if I'm a real estate professional now, I would dive into and look at the AI, but I think the old school or the retro, as I like to call it, phone calls, the belly to belly, those conversations, that's where the business is.
But you got to do both, Alfredo.
100%.
Because if you're an agent and you're using ChatGPT as Google instead of Google as a replacement to Google, you're losing and you're failing right now.
Yep.
Because we're in an industry right now where sky's the limit. And I'll give you an example of what an agent could do in order to help with the phone calls. Because you still got to do the phone calls.
Yep.
You still got to do the one-on-one. You still got to do a hand-holding. You still got to meet with the lunches. But imagine as an agent, you're building an AI agent that when you're making calls on your platform and you're calling these people, you're cold calling, you're making your connections, as soon as you get off the call, it's giving you a score on the call. It's telling you what you did wrong, what you could do better. And then there's an option in order to role play and help fix those issues that you have. And that makes you a lot better. So when you get on the next call, you're not using the next call as a learning curve. You're learning there and then you're getting on the next call. Imagine as a broker or as a leader, right now, we could generate an AI agent of Alfredo Pujol to run your Compass office. So everyone comes to you. But when you're here with me, no one could come to you. So imagine if you could grab all the information that you have, build an agent, and now agents have direct access to a platform that they could go in there and ask it questions and it would answer like Alfredo. And those are things that are happening today in this industry that I think you got to do a combination of both in order to really be successful.
Yeah, you said it spot on. You can't be everywhere. So unless you just said something perfectly. And if whoever's watching this decide, if I'm a newer agent, I can't do everything on my own. So I either have to hire people. To hire people costs me money. So if I'm a brand new agent for the first time ever, I can get one tool, like you said, and have that tool take messages. I can have that tool like the AI. I can have it do things while I'm doing productive activities. They can do the stuff of picking up the phone call and just making sure and reading the logs, doing all that stuff. So I think that it goes hand in hand. And it's a lot of people right now they're either one way or the other. And I think you and I talked about it is what works is always going to work. You want to layer on
to make it better. It's there to make you better.
Yeah, like what you're doing. We talked about earlier. This is layered on to make the industry better. Like I know for sure, maybe I'm wrong, but I have not seen anybody do what you're doing. So it's different. It's out of the box. So it's like you're still doing what you do good. You're still building relationships. You're still doing the things that we talked about earlier, but then you're layering on all these other tools, which now give you more exposure. And I think that that's the beauty that we have right now with technology is you can reach so many people, and you said it.
You could be so much better at cold calling than you've ever been.
Yeah.
You could be so much better at building relationships than you've ever been. And I told you earlier about that device that I use in order to help me with meetings and conversations. There's tools out there, but we're stuck like on ChatGPT. And even my mom, yo le pregunté a ChatGPT y ChatGPT dijo. So we're like, yeah, ChatGPT is a replacement of Google. And if you're there, you need to start following people on YouTube and watching videos on how to start using different types of AI like Claude and other things to help you with that.
Yeah.
And I remember we talked about the buyer agreements.
Yeah.
And how agents are still struggling to show their value in 2026.
Frustrating.
Fredo, just tell me about that. What's going on? Why are agents still struggling to show their value in 2026?
I got to talk to the screen on this one. If this is the side. No,
I don't know.
I think people forget the value that the realtor has. I think they forget the value. Like you're the person that takes the phone call. You're the person that helps them find their home. You're the person that puts their family in there. You're the one that connects them with the inspection company to make sure the house is good. And if not, you get the credits or you get them out of the contract. You're the one that gets the loan, right? Like puts up with the lender. You do like 10,
you're the one
20,
that fixes your credit.
You're the one that hears from them whenever there's an issue. And I think a lot of times the real estate professionals don't we don't understand sometimes that we do all those things and we just think, oh, we just go open a house and do that. It's not. From the moment that someone takes a call, you're there. This was said perfectly by a broker that you're there in their best times, you're there in their worst times. Like you're there when they're having their kids, you're there when they're having something sad in their life. So exactly. But we don't quantify that into what we do. Even if you look at the luxury market, the reason that some of these agents understand their value is they're the only ones that are going to find that property or that niche property because they are in those markets. They know what's going on. They know that the house next door, the seller will sell if they got this number.
Of course.
So I think that from a real estate industry perspective and from people in the outside, I think people need to understand what realtors and real estate professionals do.
Yes, sir.
And we do a lot. We have to go through about 5 or 6 different steps to get a deal closed. I'm going to use you as an example. Inspection company, you get paid the day you're there. I don't get paid until the keys are changed and it's funded.
Yes.
So
and then if the buyer decides to buy a Mercedes in between the process, you're not getting paid.
True story. So I used to tell people, if you buy a can of Coke, this is what I used to tell buyers, and this is how I got my agreement signed. If you buy a can of Coke before closing and it messes up your finance, you don't close. So don't buy anything. After closing, if you want to take out 20 credit cards, you want to do whatever, that's fine. Until you close. But I've had that. Yeah, the Mercedes. It was Jaguar. One of the agents.
No way.
One of the agents in the office. Their client bought a Jaguar. The rate they almost couldn't buy. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things as real estate professionals, not explaining the value that they have and not explaining all the things that they do to get the deal done. And I think the real people understand that. And what we're actually noticing is that a lot of that's why you're seeing that the top people continue to grow because they're explaining their value and they're explaining, this is what I do. I don't just sell a home. I put you in a property. We're going to be there with your family for years.
Yes, and I get you through the entire process. So, if you were pretend I am a buyer, and show me how you could explain your value to me in a real world example. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's all good.
Without sounding defensive or desperate.
Okay, so you're calling me in, so I'm just gonna say, Louis, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today. One of the things that I want to share with you is the things that we do differently. So one of the things that we do is when we work with our clients, we work with our buyers, we're going to put you with a top team. So we have a top team in terms of inspections with TruView, right? There's a free plug there. You like that?
I like that part.
We have a couple of lenders, so you can make the choice as to who you use. But you have an opportunity to use all of our team. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk you through the whole process. My goal at the end of the day is when you sign this agreement is that we find your home within the next few months or in the timeline that you have. This is how we work. And then I would explain the agreement. And now the agreement side, I would explain to them that this just means that you're working with me. If you walk into a doctor's office, you don't just walk into the doctor's office and go, hey, Mr. Doctor, this is what I want. Mm-hmm. My job is to make sure that I find out every single thing that you need, what you want, and make sure that we have that so you and your family can find that home. And that's how you present it, right? In a little bit of a nutshell, right? It's a longer presentation, but you present it to the client. And what you're doing is just having a conversation with them. You have to hear what people want.
That's a big thing.
And you have to listen.
You got to ask the right questions.
Yeah, and you got to listen. And you got to make sure. The famous thing, like, I want a pool. Okay, what type of pool do you want? Oh, I want a big pool. What's that look like? Right? Oh, I just want a pool in the, oh, you want a jacuzzi, right? Like, you have to dive into the questions. And a lot of us sometimes jump in right away. So we got to listen to what they say. And that's how you get these agreements signed. That's how you do the buyer's agreements. How we do it. I've been doing buyer's agreements or these presentations since I first started. But now they're binding. So now they're now something where you, the buyer, understands that. You have to explain that value.
And that's good. I think that was good for the industry because buyers, I remember that when I used to do inspections back in the days, I had buyers that they used to call us and one realtor. And a week later, they didn't buy the house. I showed up as another realtor. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? So it's good. I think this is good for the industry. And I think, again, this separates the one that are able to explain their value and the ones that can't explain their value.
100%.
I remember Angel Nicholas on episode 1, he said, when I'm going into these markets, he's like, he goes up to someone, I want to buy a house. I want to buy that house. And he's like, chances are I make a couple phone calls and I know somebody that knows the owner of that house. And I'm stepping into that room with that person in order to be able to convince him to sell that house to my potential buyers. Yeah. So it's about finding what's different about you. When people call us all the time, oh, your inspections. Oh, an inspection is not just an inspection. We have to have our ways that we show our value because we're not the cheapest inspection company in the industry, but we offer things that people don't also offer. So every day we have to constantly be explaining our value.
Yeah.
And what do you think, Alfredo, that agents are spending their money on right now? That's like meaningless.
What do they say? On everything. Sorry, I had to say, realtors, we buy everything. You can put whatever in there, we'll buy. I think a lot of times we spend money on things and jump from place to place. So I think a lot of the AI tools, like a lot of people don't even take an opportunity to learn the AI tools that are at the cost. So they're not learning they're jumping in or buying a new AI tool without first learning how Claude works. ChatGPT, how really using it. They're just using the basic stuff. So I think we jump from place to place on tools. And I think a lot of times that's where we miss the mark. Like we hear someone say, this product is going to give us this amount of leads. No, the leads come from you picking up the phone. The leads come from using the tools. It comes from you using the AI to get a contact. So I think we have to be very careful. But real estate industry, we love to.
People spend the money. They get this, they get that, and they don't even take the time to understand it and learn it and be able to maximize and take the most advantage.
And it's time on task. They get the tool, they don't use it enough, and they're like, it doesn't work.
Yes.
So like I farm an area, right? I send out postcards. I send 3 months and I'm like, I don't have a listing. Why? No, it takes a year. Nobody knows who you are. Like nobody knows what you do. It takes time to build those relationships. Some people are lucky. Points. Yeah, some people are lucky, but not everybody is that lucky.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Alfredo, if this podcast is your message to the industry in South Florida, to these 100,000 realtors that you sit above, what's one thing different that they need to change and start doing tomorrow?
What's one thing different? Oh man, you stopped me a little
bit.
One thing. What's one thing?
They need to start doing.
Anybody watching this?
Starting tomorrow. This is your address to your entire network.
What's your address? So one thing. I think it's relationships. I think it's build those relationships. If there's one thing that I could tell all the realtors out there, if I could tell everybody, is build your relationships. There's nothing stronger in any industry or anything than relationships. You and I have a relationship. Like if you call me, and you know this, if you call me, I'm gonna pick up, and I told you, yeah. Like there's people where my voicemail says text me.
Yes.
But if someone calls, I'm gonna pick up. So if I'm a realtor out there, it's really building these intentional relationships and giving back, right? It's not going to take. It's building relationships. I think those will last you a lifetime.
Keep building the relationships.
Yeah.
And use everything you can to get better at doing it.
Yeah.
We're going to get into rapid fire. Short, quick, one-hitter answers.
All right.
It's one of my favorite parts of the podcast.
Okay.
You ready for it?
I think so.
All right. One word to describe the Miami market right now.
Caliente.
Caliente. It's true. Not slow.
I threw a
Caliente.
little spice in there.
The most underrated skill in real estate.
Follow-up. You got to follow up.
That's it. You're only as good as your follow-up. One thing an agent must stop doing immediately.
TikTok dancing if you're bad at it.
I agree, man.
If you're good, go for it.
Best advice you've ever gotten in business?
The best advice is do things belly to belly. Those relationships matter.
That's it, right? You're big on relationships, and I see that, and I've seen it. You don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. You've demonstrated that to me. One policy issue you wish every homeowner understood?
The insurance. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. Gosh, I my wife owns an insurance company, and she was just telling me how many people she's helped that have lender-forced insurance companies, and they don't even know it. And they're paying 2 times what they're supposed to pay.
Yep.
And that's crazy. I totally agree. If you had to bet on one trend that's for the next 12 months, what would it be?
I think you said it, AI.
Yep.
You can't, and that was one word, but that you can't deny AI is here.
Yes, AI is here, and you gotta, and I'm telling you, you gotta catch up to it and learn it, because the ones that don't catch up to it are going to get left behind.
Or you better sell really good and hire someone that knows AI.
Yes. Yeah. Where do people get Miami wrong?
I think they don't realize how culturally diverse we are. I don't think people realize Miami is the most culturally diverse place in the world. It is. I think people think that was New York. No, I think Miami is the most culturally. You can go from Cuban food, Colombian food, Russian food in a
Brazilian,
matter of 5 miles.
Yeah.
I think we're the most culturally diverse place.
That's awesome. That's good, Alfredo. This has been amazing. I got one more thing for you. I just want you to land it with one final message for all the agents in our industry. Land it. One final message for them.
I think one of the things that, if I can land it with a message, is if you're a real estate professional watching this, is anybody can do this, right? But don't stop. A lot of us stop before our goal. A lot of us stop before what we know we can achieve. And don't be afraid to do those things or take those chances. If it wasn't for those chances, I would not be sitting here or doing that. So I think for
Absolutely.
a lot of us, sometimes we stop, we don't continue to push, and you just keep dreaming, keep doing those things. And there's a lot of cool stuff you can do in real estate. So I really enjoy it.
Yeah, take those chances, be consistent. Yeah. A lot of things that we do sometimes feels foolish. Like even me starting a podcast, like, oh man, this feels foolish. What are people going to think of me? I don't care. Yeah. I am going to do whatever it takes to be great and be the best at what I do. And I am more scared of failing than scared of what people think of me for succeeding.
I love that.
And I think that as a realtor, that's something that you got to grasp and go for it and be consistent. Yeah. Because when you're not consistent, you do things for a short period of time. Like you said with the mailers, I did it 3 times. I didn't get anything. You haven't even given it long enough in order to be able to see where it comes. Yeah. What comes out of it. Alfredo, thank you so much for, you're the chairman of the board. You got 100,000 realtors under you, and you took the time to come to the TruTalk Podcast. Thank you so much for being here today, for taking time out of your schedule, for always referring us to people, for always making connections, for demonstrating that relationships in my life, I've seen it personally. And thank you for speaking to our industry here today. I'm so glad that you came here today and were with us. And everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is True Talks, where business meets real life.